Hello, everybody, and welcome to News of Faith from Worldwide Online Ministries. Today we have a special guest, an author, Christy Smith from Missouri. And she is an author of a book called Forever and Always. And she is a historical romance writer. And I met her here the other day, and she was referred to me by a close friend. So we're going to do an interview with her about this book and try to get more Christian people to be able to read books without worrying. And that's one of the biggest things there is out there right now is anything you watch on television or read in a book, it just blows up in your face the first page or two, and you just put it down. So just kind of letting everybody out there know that there are still authors out there that write good books. So Christy, there you are.
Hi, Reverend. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. I hope you are too.
I'm so glad you asked me on.
Well, I'm glad that you accepted that, because it's nice to know that there's friendly people that out there that are willing to share. I mean, even though we're talking about your books and your life and things like that, it's the only way that other people are going to understand that they're not alone. You know, a lot of people say, well, I'm just going to be quiet because I'm probably the only one out there, but they're not. You know, there's always somebody else out there that are willing to be friends with people that are going through, even hard times with as other people do. But maybe we could start out before we get into your book. How did you become an author? I mean, did you just always have read books all your life, or how did that work out?
Well, yeah, I've been a big reader, and it's funny, I hated history in high school, and what do I write? Historical novels. Now, they are not the normal romance novel that has the really sexy guy on the front and all that stuff. My romance novel is historical, but it is also Christian. Everything a man and a woman do in the bedroom is kept behind doors. There's no foul language at all. It's called a clean indie read.
Okay, sounds interesting already. And now, is this not your only book then? I'm just assuming.
I didn't understand it.
I just assumed that this is not the only book you have written.
It is the only book I've written at this point. I am doing a sequel.
Okay, all right, yeah. So the sequels always turn out better because you know more about what you was doing in the first book.
Right. That's kind of what I figured. I've told everybody, I may have left you on a cliff, but I won't make you jump. I've learned a lot since then, and I'm trying to put it all into practice in the second book.
Right. I watch a lot of scary movies that, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 99, and it's always, because right at the end of the movie, you see where the person didn't die, or he was, and you say, oh, there's going to be another movie come out. They don't have to tell you that. It's just by the end of it, and I don't know if your book is like that or not. Can you see a continuing going on at the end of your book?
The end of my book is kind of sad, but I leave people with a taste for the sequel, so that they will go out and pick it up and find out what happens to the family in book 2.
Okay.
I don't think a book can be just one book if you're dealing like I did with a family. You have to know what happens to the little kids. You know, if the book ends and the kids are little, what happens to them?
Right. Yeah. Were they taught the right way to continue, the way the parenting went along with them? You know, it's interesting to know.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, you can't just let a story die out. I mean, read the book and that's the end of it. You gotta have something to keep going with, you know, and look forward to.
Yep. My book scans about 40 years in the first book, and I'm coming on to 20 years past that in the second book.
Wow.
But I'm going to go and introduce the whole clan and try to figure out what happens to all of them.
Well, that's good. Yeah. How do you go about this? This is something that you just think of and write it down, and if it doesn't sound right, you go back and delete that and think something else up. How do you go about the plot?
Well, I get these thoughts in my head, and my husband, if he was here, thank goodness he's not, would tell you she writes on everything. She writes on paper, she writes on envelopes, she writes everywhere. But I pick everything up and try to organize it a little bit, and I'll type it into the computer as I go, and then come back, say, the next day and read it again. And if I don't like the way it turned out, I'll change it a little bit.
All right.
But the basic idea that I come up with is usually what ends up on the page.
That's a good way to do it. I know it takes a while. I've talked to a few other authors, and it takes a while for them to get the book in order, and then it takes forever to get it published. Trying to find someone that will take it and then wait for them to review it and everything else. And so, yeah, it's interesting to meet people like you and the other ones, because I've never thought about doing an interview with a book author until I become friends with that Jerry Callison from Illinois. And
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he's a real nice Christian person, and I don't know if I told you the other day or not, the book he had. It's just coming out now. It's called Stranded at Romson's Lodge, and he sent me a copy of that book, and I read it, and I did not put it down till I was done reading it. That's how interesting it was. And he's been kind of helping me out, throwing me towards other people, you know, that are, I don't know, did I say, quote, Christian people? Or, you know, it's Christian, whether you're Christian or not, the book is readable. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that you're just selling these books out to Christian people. You're selling it to anybody. But there's a fine line there, you know, between is this good for me? Is this good for my family? Is this good for my 12-year-old? You know, and that's where I draw the line as to what's decent and what's not. If a parent will let a 12, 14-year-old daughter read this book, it's good. You know, and that's what people are looking for, and they're hard to find anymore on the shelves, because they usually start out with, like you say, the cover picture gives it away. And yeah. So, and I know, I think you've told me that you were a Christian, and whether you have been all your life or just the last 2 years, you know, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're taking it, you know, as this is the way I want to write my books.
Right. I can't see any other way to write books.
Right.
And you know, you spoke about, can my 12-year-old daughter read this book? The answer to my book is yes. the young lady that's in this book starts out at age 14.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, a 12-year-old could read it. I believe they would probably be interested in it, as long as they don't think that boys still have cooties.
Right.
But that's what we used to say when we were in school. But my fans range basically, I believe, from age 16 to right about 63.
Huh.
And they're both men and women.
Yeah, that was strange because I asked you that, do guys read these kind of books? And you said that you had quite a few guys that was interested in your as fans of yours. Let me say, do you have the information there where people can look for this book? I mean, it is out. Isn't it? Is it out yet?
Yes, it's out. It's on. You can find it on Amazon.com. You can find it on BarnesandNoble.com. You can find it almost anywhere online. And if you're not online, bless your soul, you can look for it at your local retail.
Okay, all right. And that book is definitely. How do you have an average reading time on something like that? What if someone was to sit down to read that book through?
Most of them have told me it's a good night's reading.
A good night.
Or a good afternoon's reading.
Okay, so it's a fairly easy to read, because if you can read a book in a nighttime or a daytime, yeah, that sounds interesting. Is there anything in?
It's 122 pages long.
Okay, yeah, that's good. And is there anything in this book that you could say to interest people in that particular book? Is there a little bit of a introduction that you could say? What might happen in the book that would get someone interested in reading it?
Well, it takes place at the end of the Civil War in 1864 in Orleans Parish, which today is New Orleans. And they were still fighting at that point in time, but this is more about the life of this young couple and how they start a family, how they enlarge their family, and the trials and tribulations that go along with that, with daily life.
Okay.
Not all of your life is wonderful without any kind of hiccups.
Right.
There are a couple of hiccups in there that would entice people. Look at your own life and see. That's what I tell people. Look at your own life and see, has your life been completely smooth with no waves? And if they say no, I say, well, that's about the way my book is.
Okay. Everybody, yeah, you're right, everybody, and I don't care what they tell you. If they say they haven't had any problems like that, they're afraid to tell you the truth. But everybody does have problems and mistakes that they have to overcome, and it's hard, especially today. Now, the historic part of the romance, it takes me to thinking that these are the things that happened back when everything was easy. We didn't have all this pushing and pulling today that we have. John likes Jane and Jack wants her, and Tom won't let him have her, and you've got this mingled up mess today, and people think, well, historic romance is just easy. A man meets a woman, they fall in love, and they have a happy life together, and that's not true even back then. They had so many problems too.
They had a lot of adversity to overcome. Yeah,
and it's It's not that, don't think that you've got it rough today, because they've had it rough back then. They've had it rough even before that era. And it's going to get rough. It's going to get rough. I don't say it get rougher, but it will continue to get that way, in the future. And we just need to learn how to overcome that. Now, I'm going to switch this around a little bit. We're talking about overcoming these problems that we have. I know a lot of people probably will be shutting this off right now, but I'm going to say it. This is a Christian radio show that I'm doing. But, if a person lets the Lord lead them in the direction that they want to go, or that they should go, it's not going to be near as rough as what they planned on it being. And it's just like, when you're reading your book, you have to wait to the end of the book to see how it's going to end. Unless you just go ahead and jump right on in it, and read the last chapter first. That's a lot of people do that. But you can't jump into the next chapter of life to see how it's going to come out. You have to wait till it gets to the ending there. And if you trust in the Lord, He's going to make it easy for you as long as you stay within the fence of the path that He's leading you down. Don't be jumping over the fence because it looks greener over there. Don't jump on this side of the fence because it looks easier. You just have to. It's like playing a pinball machine. You kind of jar that thing a little bit once in a while to get that ball to go where you want it to, because it wants to go where it's going to go. It's going to go that direction. But you want to try to keep it in a line that you want it to go in, and that's what life is. It's easy if you just stay within the lines, and reading books like you write there. I believe that would bring people back into the easy way of learning, you could say. You're learning about the romance that way. Some people think they already know how romance goes, but until you read how the romance went with successful people, then you're learning from that.
Oh, very definitely. Very definitely. I mean, you can't just skip to the next chapter of life and have it go as smoothly as if you read each chapter, one following the other, because they all connect.
Right. Yep, they sure do. Well, and now I'm gonna just kind of put a spot in here. All these little spaces I can take out because I'm trying to think of what to say next, maybe, and you got a little bit of a gap between us, so I'm taking that out. And I write down the time, like right now. I'll write down the time, and then I know where to go to edit this piece out.
Okay.
Okay, if there's anything else you want to switch over to about anything, we'll do that for a little bit. Any other kind of questions you want me to ask you, or anything else you want to say, we'll go ahead from here. So, yeah.
I just wanted to tell people also. I wanted to tell people also that I have Meniere's, and I am writing a book about it, which will be out in the future. And Meniere's itself is what we call an invisible disease. It's not like I've got my arm in a sling or my foot broke. You can't see it. But it's an imbalance in the fluid in your inner ear. And it does all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's not a fun disease, but, well, what disease is fun? I haven't figured that out yet. But I am speaking out about Meniere's. I'm becoming a speaker, and I call myself a Meniere's warrior. But look for that book in the future.
All right. Yeah, When I talked to you the other day, you was telling me about this, and I told you I was going to look it up. Well, I found the 10 symptoms of Meniere's disease. They have this was wow. Dizziness, nausea, hearing loss, ringing in the ear, uncontrolled eye movement, diarrhea, cold sweats, feelings of fatigue, extreme mood changes, and migraines. Does that pretty much hit all of them? Yeah, I know you said that there.
Not all of them.
I know you said it kind of turned on you, and you was getting some different symptoms than what you started with.
Yeah, I think they gave, that was the internet version, the compacted version. What is it, like Reader's Digest condensed version?
Yeah.
There are so many differing symptoms that people can get. We don't all have the same symptoms. We don't all have them at the same time. The little different things will start me off, like a change in the barometer. If you look at the weather on television every night, and they tell you what the barometer is and if it's going up or down.
Right.
Well, anytime that barometer changes, my body knows it.
Wow.
And my body will react to it.
Kind of like.
But some people don't have a problem with that pressure.
Yeah. Kind of like arthritis works on people. They can tell you before it rains, that it's going to rain. That must have, I know.
Exactly.
I have a little bit of arthritis in me, not much. Mostly in like where I've sprung my wrist or something, when I was little, and it just comes in, and my leg start aching like I just walked 20 miles, and I know it's going to rain,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but do you have warning? I mean, is there a warning that comes before, or is it just all of a sudden just hits?
No, not really.
No?
Just all of a sudden.
Right.
The only warning I can really say that I have is when the weather fronts, when they come in and go out,
Mm-hmm.
I know that that's happening before the weatherman does.
Wow.
My husband calls me the best weather person in the world.
Yeah, too bad they don't have something you can tell him what the score is going to be.
Yeah, really.
Now, do you are you overcoming this? Is there something you could do to smooth it out, make it better while it's happening, or anything like that?
There is no cure, unfortunately. I'm managing as best I can with the medication that I can get. There are a lot of medications that will work, and the ones that do work don't fix it 100%. So you just kind of have to go with the flow, and if the medication doesn't work, the best thing for me to do is just to lie down and have the attack and wait till it's over, and I usually end up going to sleep.
Oh, okay. So that's I know a lot of times I got a little feedback there, don't I? I know a lot of times things happen like that were yeah, excuse me too. A lot of things, like if I start to get a headache, I can lay my head over the back of the couch arm, and in 5 minutes it's gone.
Uh-huh.
If I go to sleep with a headache, I wake up.
I wish I could say that.
Yeah. When I go to sleep with a headache, I wake up with a headache. That doesn't cure it. If I take 3 generic aspirin, it'll be gone in 10 to 20 minutes. So, yeah, what do you want to do? If there's a couch there, I'll lay across the back of the couch for 5 minutes and it's gone. But, like you say, you can go to sleep and wake up and it'll be gone. So it's a good thing that you can go to sleep with that, to take care of that problem.
You can't always go to sleep, and the bad part about it is my attacks can last like from 2 hours to 36 hours.
Wow.
So there's no telling.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, people don't realize this, that people have problems that, like you say, they're unseen. They're not noticeable by people. And then all of a sudden this attacks you, and I'm sure your mood changes with it. And people don't understand why your mood changed so much, and you don't feel like sitting there for 15 minutes explaining it to them. You just want to go get things taken care of. And so it is hard for people to understand when they're,
I ended up in a hospital once in an ER with a 2-inch gash in the back of my head because of one of the symptoms, which is called a drop attack. And what a drop attack does, James, is it's like you're standing on a rug and somebody pulls that rug right out from underneath you.
Wow.
And you're on the floor. And that's what a drop attack is. And I ended up hitting my head on our bedside table. So my husband took me to the ER, and I had a 2-inch gash, and I think they put 14 staples in it.
Wow.
It's weird.
Yeah. What would you say to someone? I'm pretty sure if somebody has this disease, I'm pretty sure they know already. But what would you say to someone that has this happening to them? How to have the strength to just keep going and fighting it, and to some little bit of a testimony of how you overcome some parts of it, maybe to ease it a little bit or something. Do you have anything you could tell listeners about it?
I would tell them, don't ever quit. Don't ever quit.
Yeah.
That's the best thing you can do. Keep fighting, because it does get better. It's like a roller coaster. It goes up and down.
Right. And someday there might be a cure. Don't give up on something that they might be working on. I know there's always hope for anything, and it's okay to hope for something, even if there's no hope for it, because it helps you get through it.
Well, there's always hope. The hope is named God.
That's it. Yeah.
And He has been my Savior from so much. So much. And He's the person that I call on during a Meniere's attack.
Right. And He's there. He's always there. Some people might not understand that either, but it's like, the Lord is like a father. He is our Father, our Heavenly Father. And a lot of people, I have trouble talking about this to some people because they've been mistreated as a child, and they don't know what a father is supposed to be. They might not even know their father, or they might hate their father for things that they've done to them in their early years. So how are you going to tell someone, it's like your earthly father? You don't want that. You don't want people to think that God is like your earthly father if He's been mistreating you and things like this. And
right.
You can compare Him to the Father you always wanted. How's that? Does that sound good to you? Think of God as the Father.
That sounds really good.
Yeah. Think of God as the Father that you always wanted and more. And that's who He is.
I always tell people that when I'm at my worst, I climb up His robes to sit in His lap and let Him comfort me.
Amen.
Just the way a child would climb up in their daddy's lap for comfort.
Right. Yeah. And He knows what you're going through, and there's a reason for it. It's something you don't really question because but there is a reason for it. And now look, you're on here telling other people what to go through, what they're going through, and how to expect it to come out and everything. And that, I've always said, I've not always been a minister. I was a teenager. I was a young punk, and I was a mean brat when I was little. But I've went through a lot of things that other people haven't went through. I was in the military. And I'm honest with you, with everybody on this. I've done some drugs. I've done some alcohol, quite a bit. I've done this, and I've done that. I know where I came from, where I've been, and how I got there. And other people, I can't help them if I know nothing about it. If you're reading it out of a book, what drugs do to you, that's all you're doing is reading a story to them. I know what drugs did to me. I can relate to them. Send them to me. I can talk to them, because I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you smoke, you need to quit. It's bad for you. You can just quit. Just put them down. I know what it's like to have to quit something. I know what it's like to give up something, and it's not. It's not a habit. It's an addiction. A habit you can break. Mm-hmm. Addiction, you need help. And somebody telling you, quit before it kills you, well, that's not help. No, you got to understand how they feel, how all that stuff, before you can even start to talk to them about it. So that's why I say you're telling people things that nobody can just pick up a book and read it to somebody. You're one-on-one teaching somebody like the symptoms. Somebody might have some of them symptoms and not know what it is. And here you are. Now, wait a minute. Now, that sounds like something that happens to me a lot. Maybe I've got something like that, and I need to go find out. So you're doing work for the Lord by helping other people see that they might have something like that themselves.
Absolutely. And it took me 9 doctors to find the right doctor and to find the right diagnosis.
And the medication, I'm sure that's not cheap. You can't.
No, it's not cheap, but it's well worth it.
Oh, yeah. And that's where a lot
well worth it.
So I see a lot of people suffer because they can't afford the medication for what they need. I've seen people that is spending over $1,500 a month, and that's what they have to pay. Insurance covers most of it, and they're still out $1,500 on their own. How can you? I know that the people need money for equipment and research and things like that, but why is it so high? If they lowered the price of this stuff, more people would be able to get it, and they'd make money anyway. But it's like they want to be
I never did understand that myself.
Yeah, they want to be a millionaire overnight. I help everybody. Don't just help the ones that are rich. There's the only rich people I know. I don't even know them, but I'm saying I wish I knew of one or two. But down here where I'm at, there are a lot of people that have the money to do whatever they want, politics or anything, and they're trying to shut an airport down because the airplanes make too much noise in their neighborhood, and they,
Yeah.
I guess next thing I know there was some people that was complaining because they heard gunshots after dark. Now, they didn't say midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning. They said gunshots after dark. Well, it kind of turned out it was a sheriff's department target practicing for nighttime. I mean, you got to know how to shoot at night, too, like you do in the daytime.
Yeah.
But they're trying to stop the sheriff's department from target practice. But like I say, the doctors all want to make their money at one time so they can go to the Bahamas or wherever for the weekend. You kind of got that little cough and choke like I do once in a while. I'll get to doing that, and my wife would say,
Yep.
she'd be saying, my wife would say, I'm waiting for you to quit breathing. I said, well, don't wait that long.
Well, James, I hate to cut it short, but I know this cough. It's not going to quit.
Okay, I understand that. It was good, and people learn something from this if they're out there listening. Like I said, I got almost 2,000 Christian followers on Twitter, and then I've got I told you about the list of places where it goes to after I record it and set it up: Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, Tumblr, YouTube, Google, iTunes, Stitcher, IAIB, and my own Worldwide Online Ministry website. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate it so much.
So, hey, I appreciate
Okay.
it, and we can get you back on here some other time and talk about.
Definitely.
Well, it's been nice to meeting you, and it's been nice to understand some of the symptoms and things that you're going through. And believe me, I know that when like you said, that cough, you know what it is. That's why I don't do live video audios, because I'd be messed up if I did. I need time to stop and cough it out and then turn it back on and continue. So, all right. Hey, God bless you, and hope you have the rest of the week be blessful to you, and I pray for you.
Thank you, James. You've been a wonderful helper. Helper for the Lord.
That's it. Okay.
We all need to stick together.
Yeah, that's right. Brothers and sisters in Christ, and that I understand. Christy, I love you, and
Absolutely.
and hope that you can actually, have a peaceful night, and everything goes well for you. And we will be getting in contact with you some other time and see about getting you on here and talk more about the Lord.
Wonderful.
Well, I'll talk to you later, and until then.
Thank you so much, James.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
Bye now.